Hi everyone, welcome to Art of the Bay Sessions. Before we get into the interview, make sure to hit that subscribe button to catch future episodes. Thanks again and enjoy the interview.
And welcome back to another episode of Art of the Bay Sessions. It's Nando being joined by my special co-host, Mark.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And we are being joined by Jim Sommer, director and producer of the Holiday Bowl History of Hayward Landmark. How are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I know we kind of had like a little bit of a technical snafu the other day trying to like set this up, but I'm even happier that we're able to do this in studio for the first time as well.
Yeah, this makes it a little more special, I think.
Yeah, like we can exactly just kind of see and thank you so much for bringing over like the news article as well. Like that's really cool, and like I'm glad that you're also getting like the promotion already for like the DVD and the documentary overall.
Yeah, well, we got that nice article in the Tri-City Voice that came out August 3rd, and right on the front page is a story about Holiday Bowl and my documentary.
Right.
And it's a real nice story, and that was really nice of them to do that, and good timing too.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's also perfect too because of how things are opening up here, where like how we were talking before we started recording with B Street recently opening up again, and then just all these different like events where like, yeah, it's kind of like the perfect timing because people can kind of go out there again, enjoy like these festivals, and then at the same time kind of promote stuff like this that's around the area pretty much with like the Holiday Bowl. What would you say like kind of inspired you to kind of create the documentary now during this time frame?
Well, I can tell you it's actually a very specific event.
Ah, okay.
We had to close the bowl in 2005.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I would go to the property at least several days a week to just make sure it's secure and take off any graffiti and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And one time, like I believe it was about 2018, so it sat there for a long time before we actually sold it, which was just this year.
Right.
And I came across a young man, like 25, and he was walking around the property, and I approached him and said, "What are you doing?"
Right.
And he says, "Oh, hi, I'm an amateur filmmaker. I have a thing on the internet, and I film abandoned buildings." He says, "Could I film yours?"
Wow.
And I said, "Hell no."
Oh, wow.
It doesn't look good in there anymore.
Yeah.
But then the idea just popped into my head right then and there. I said, "But you know what I would like to do? I'd like to make a documentary about when it was open. Like,
Right.
Do you do that?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "I've done some. I know how to start that."
Yeah.
And so his name was Doug Wilson. And so we like made a friendship then and there and decided we were going to try and do something together.
Right.
Towards the line of a documentary.
Yeah.
And so I met with him a few times, but he lives in LA.
Oh, okay.
And he only comes up here like once a month to see his parents who
Mm-hmm.
live in Fremont. So we didn't really get together that much, a few times, and started coming up with ideas and things. But then I could see that wasn't going to probably work out just because of the distance factor.
Right.
And I went to right around that same time, I went to my high school class reunion. I haven't gone to one of those in probably 20 years.
Right.
And I went to this one, and I hooked up with my old buddy from high school, Sujoy Sarkar, and he happens to be the boss of the Chabot College TV station.
This is a perfect segue.
Yeah.
Right. And I said in my head, I go, "Sujoy."
Yeah.
Guess what? You know what? It seemed like already right then that the things were just falling into place.
Right.
I was coming across the right people at the right time to make it happen. And it occurred to me to do it. And I said, "Sujoy, you're on the TV station. Do you guys do documentaries?" "Oh yeah, all the time." And like I knew that they could actually produce a documentary. They're a real TV station.
Right.
These guys got all the real equipment of the big boys. And he says, "Yeah." I told him about my idea and hooking up with Doug Wilson. And he says, "Yeah, we could probably make that happen." And so from then on, I told Doug, actually he came into the Chabot College TV station and worked with us a couple times, but it was just too much traveling. He couldn't do it often enough.
Right.
So he kind of bowed out, but we stay in touch.
Oh, that's good.
And actually I put him in the credits of the movie.
Right.
I think I remember seeing that.
He was integral in the whole thing happening.
And
And So Sue Joy says, yeah, come on in. You can use our studio and I'll get you an editor who I had to pay him.
Oh, okay.
But I had a real good editor. I had a couple editors and I don't, for one reason or another, they were taking classes and it clashed with that or whatever.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it. But then the guy that I finally hooked up with, Taryn Smith, he was my editor till the end. And we did a great job. And they gave me ideas how to piece it together. It's like my first project like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know even where to start or how to layer it or whatever.
Right.
But they kind of guided me and we went back and forth with ideas. And sometimes Taryn would give me an idea and I go, oh, no, I don't want to do that. And you go, no, you really should. But I always got the last word because it's my
that's good.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I did take his into, and he did change my mind a couple times on things about the documentary. So it was great. And we did interviews in November of 2019.
Oh, okay. Right.
Of former employees and customers and neighbors, 22 of them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we did the interviews at the Chabot College TV station. So like it's a real interview with a green screen.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we pieced those in with all my massive pictures. And I took video footage when I knew we were closing.
Oh,
I went around and filmed everything I could.
Right.
I didn't know what I was going to do with it at the time.
Yeah.
It's funny because I have a little narration bit. I had a friend of mine ride with me in the car and film me driving to the bowl. And I didn't know I had no idea I was going to end up making a documentary about it 15 years later. You know? And we got a lot of footage like that in there and just shots of the bowl and the restaurant and the holiday house and the bands playing.
Right.
So it just worked out to do that. We did all the interviews, but then we got shut down for a few months because of COVID.
Right.
We couldn't go to the station.
Right.
But then when we could, we resumed it, got back into it. And in early 2021, we finished. Like, I think it was January.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's almost affected as well with COVID and starting and then stopping and then finishing as well.
Yeah. And now I know editing takes a long time. We had to look through every interview from start to finish and pick out the bits that we wanted and know where to piece them together. Like, let's look for all the bits of anybody talking about the restaurant, and that'll be the restaurant part of it. Yeah. And so we had to go. It was tedious, but I loved it. Yeah. And I feel like I was really made to do this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Because I just click with it.
Because I think we were even talking when we were watching it that like on some of the interviews too, like it was doing the multi-camera where like it was like the person directly or from like the side. So that's another layer of editing as well, because you just want to make sure like the right shots are like emphasizing what they're saying at that point as well. Yeah. So
it took kind of a long time in my mind to go from start to finish, but I guess it's just what it is in the real world. Yeah. These things take a while. And then by June, I had it all copyrighted and ready to go.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And we had a release party on, I think it was June 25th at my daughter's bar, the Dark Horse Lounge here in Hayward.
Nice.
And had lots of people show up and we showed it on her big screen.
Oh, nice.
And that was the first like public showing of it. And then I started selling the DVDs, and it's also on my website on streaming, which is holidaybowlhayward.com.
Yeah.
So that was like the kickoff of it. And we've been selling them. I've been selling them pretty steadily since then. And
nice.
Getting newspaper articles and
right. Doing this, we truly appreciate it. Yeah, because like I think it was the same thing we were talking before we started recording. That I went to one of the, I believe it was like the downtown reopening celebration party, and I was just kind of like checking out everything, and I passed by your booth, and I didn't know if it was you or if it was someone else who were like handling the booth at the time, but I remember seeing like the card at the corner of my eye, and then I just kind of grabbed it, and then I was like, oh, this looks awesome. And we'll definitely get into our history of like our memories at the Holiday Bowl. But going back to like what you were mentioning with Chabot, like I know you had like a lot of experience at Chabot, and
I went there for a period of time, and seeing that relationship with you connecting with local businesses and the local college, it means a lot to, I think, the local community of Hayward. It it's a business that was in Hayward. It's a local project in Hayward. It's very grassroots, and it makes me feel more connected with the city as well.
Nice. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And Holiday Bowl's always been a big thing in Hayward. So
Right.
Hayward and Holiday Bowl are like intermingled, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think we were kind of saying it when we first watched it, that like it's really amazing that you got to work with like Chabot College to kind of produce that. So it all seems like a very like in-house, like within the community project. And I think I think that's what makes it even more special at that point, that it was like done all locally and within the same community at that point.
Right. And
Yeah.
I went to Chabot College too.
Oh, nice.
I got an AA degree there in 1977.
Oh, nice.
Oops.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, like I know you touched on it already, but like, yeah, how would you say it was like the like the relationship that you built there with like the folks at Chabot College during the editing and, you know, just the overall production of the documentary?
Well, Sujoy, I knew him in high school. We were buddies back at Moreau,
Mm-hmm.
and we both graduated in 1973.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him off and on throughout the years. I guess a couple reunions I did go to, I probably ran into him, and I'd see him around because he's local. He lives in Hayward. I live in Hayward.
Yeah.
And he works at Chabot. He's done many things in the TV industry, I think. Like used to work for KTVU, I think.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And done several different things. And now he's at Chabot, and he pretty much saved their TV station, which was about to go under.
Uh-huh.
And he like whipped it into shape, and now it makes enough money to stay afloat.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's a really wonderful facility. He's got some badass equipment in there, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome to just look at all the equipment they have.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, like did you ever have a chance to take a look at it when you were still?
No, I was not into TV or film production, but it's fascinating with the community and the resources that community college brings to the community, like with experts on painting, professors. Like it just brings so much education and expertise from, you know, the business side and the education side, like your friend.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because the only experience because I didn't go to Chabot, but my friend went there and he was kind of doing like the theater program. So those were probably the moments that I remember the most, just because I would go check out his show, like whenever he had a couple of shows there, and just like, yeah, even that, like you can tell like there was so much love and labor there for like what they were doing for like the set designs to the overall production and everything. Like they put on like a really good show, and just for it to be kind of something for like a community college like that, just shows you like how much passion there was like behind the scenes. So I can only imagine it being the same thing for like, yeah, like the film and like production department as well at that end. Yeah. Like the one thing we were kind of just wondering as well, like with the history of your family there, like who would you say actually had probably the best like bowling average from your entire like family?
Well, even though we are a bowling alley family, because my dad built the place,
right.
He bowled in leagues. I think he was probably a moderate average. My uncle was more into it. They were the two partners, along with the third guy, Arch McDonald. My uncle Ed, my dad Ralph.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Uncle Ed was way more into actual bowling.
Okay.
So he I don't know what his average was, but he was always in leagues.
Yeah.
And he probably had a pretty good average. My average was like a 150.
Oh, okay.
Kind of middle of the road.
Yeah.
Won't get you laughed at, but you won't get a lot of big props for it either.
Right.
And my brother John, he was the bowler. Now there's the guy. He had like, I don't know, 180, 190 average, something.
Oh, nice.
He was definitely into it. Had lots of trophies, and I'd say out of all my family, my brother John was probably the most into bowling, other than maybe my Uncle Ed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. Yeah, because I think it's always the same thing. Like when there's like a family bloodline in any kind of like business or projects, like it's always one of those things like, or like the people involved in it, are they actually like really into it as well? Or is it kind of just like a business and then they have like their own personal hobbies and everything else? So like, yeah, it was just like a thing we were kind of curious about. Like,
right. Well, when they started, my dad was a CPA, certified public accountant.
Oh,
and he had a practice here in Hayward. And he used to go to a thing called the 2030 Club, which is kind of like the Rotary Club.
Right.
Guys in their 20s and 30s, businessmen and women, I suppose,
would
get together and just hook up, make connections and things. And he met his partner Arch
Mhm.
there, and they decided to build a bowling alley. I don't know how
Right,
or what.
right.
Arch is a lawyer. My dad
Mm.
was a CPA,
Yeah.
and they got together with a third guy, George Page, and I don't know what his profession was,
Right.
but the three of them built the bowl in 1958. Took them about a year to get it done.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
then I think in 1960, George Page left,
Mhm.
and my uncle Ed came in and bought in. So he became the third partner. And that was the way it went until the end.
Right. Right. Right.
Those three. And my uncle ran all the bowling, and my dad ran everything else. And Arch was a silent partner. He didn't run anything.
Oh, okay.
He was just a financial partner.
Right. 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 Oh, nice. Yeah, I think we had something similar where we were gonna ask you, like, yeah, how was it in your perspective, like kind of growing up in that family business, just to kind of see it like from the very beginning until, like, I wouldn't say the end, but like when like the business was like really peaking. Like how was that experience for you, like growing up into that world?
Well, he built it when I was 3, and
Right.
I don't remember any of that. I don't think I have any memories earlier than 5, actually.
Right.
But yeah, when I was real little, I remember going in there, and some things were configured different. The entrance was a little different. The holiday house wasn't there yet, not until 1965.
Oh, okay.
So the entrances, when I was a little kid up until I was 10 years old, when they built the holiday house, the entrances were little different locations.
Mhm.
The front was still the front, but the other side was totally different. And I remember that. And I remember you could walk in, and if you went to a door to the left, you'd go into the bar, which I couldn't because I was a kid.
Yeah.
And if you go that way, you go into the bowling lanes, like entering near lane 40.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I used to play there a lot when I was a kid, and kids could run around. You could run in the stairwells and stuff, and it was pretty safe. Probably not so much anymore.
Yeah.
But then at a real young age, when I was 10, my dad let me, or offered to me, to wash dishes in the restaurant.
Oh.
To learn to wash dishes, and he'll pay me.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'd like to do that. And I did, and I learned how to do it.
Yeah.
And this is all in the documentary. But yeah, I was 10 years old making $1 an hour.
Right.
And, I don't think too many 10-year-olds had a job of any kind.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I did many various jobs there.
Mhm.
When I got older, then I was a busboy, and I bussed in the banquet room. And then I worked at the desk. I was a janitor for a couple of years.
Right.
I worked at the desk. I became a desk manager, learned how to do that. And then a bartending position opened up.
Oh.
My dad offered that to me.
Right.
And that's kind of like the cream of the crop there.
Right.
And so I took that, and I did that full time for 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And that was a great job.
Yeah.
And then he told me he'd like me to come down and learn the office work, the payroll,
Mhm.
paying bills, all the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So I did that. So I was getting a pretty well-rounded holiday bowl education.
Right.
I learned the jobs. I think it's important to know the job that you're supervising.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
it's good if you could have done it first,
Yeah.
because then they can't bullshit you about it. First of all,
You know exactly what went
you
into
go,
it.
Yeah. No, I know better. I did this
yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And so I was glad I kind of learned the jobs for real, and then I got to move up properly.
Right.
And then I worked in the office and did all that. We used to have a payroll. We had 60 employees at one time, and we used to have a payroll every week.
Yeah.
By hand. There was no ADP or any of those kind of things.
Yeah.
It was all written in checks by hand to 60 people every week.
Yeah.
I remember that, and I went, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So then it became bi-weekly, which is much more reasonable.
Right.
And then we got ADP, somebody to do all that for us, and it's way better now. Payroll.
Yeah.
Things are better now than they were 40 years ago.
Right.
But then my dad, Arch passed away in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle passed away in 1991. And my dad passed away in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
So then we decided, my mom was still with us for another 10 years. And so she became the owner, but she wasn't really, she didn't really work there or anything. She was a nurse. She was a registered nurse.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So, and raised 4 kids. So she was quite busy without
right.
doing anything at the bowl. But she what became the main decision maker, her and Arch's son, who was his executor.
Yeah.
But I was still there working. I was doing the work, and Bob Rebella was our general manager for like 36 years.
Oh, okay.
And so the two of us just carried on and did all the things that my dad and my uncle had done all the previous years, and kept it going another 10 years.
Yeah.
But then the league started dying out. Back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we would have 40 lanes of leagues at 6 o'clock.
Wow.
And 40 lanes of leagues again at 9 o'clock, like 5 or 6 days a week like that.
Yeah.
So that really kept us floating. And when the years went on, get into the 2000s, the leagues started diminishing. People just don't bowl as much. They're home on their computers or something.
Right.
Not bowling.
Yeah.
And the other 3 bowling alleys, there were 4 in Hayward at one time. They came and went. They all closed before us. And then we finally succumbed to the leagues not being big enough, basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
My dad always used to say, the bowling's the key to the kingdom.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, but there's all this other stuff too. But he was right.
Yeah.
If the bowling doesn't make it, that's it for a bowling alley.
Yeah.
So the leagues just got to be like 20 lanes instead of 40. And it wasn't enough to
sustain.
Right.
Yeah.
So we finally had to close it down in 2005.
Yeah. I think we were kind of asking about that because, when we would go there from time to time, like, obviously we would kind of play in, I don't know if you wanted to touch on like how we had like our own team when we were like in high school, and then we had gone into like a small league with
we went to Martin Luther King Junior High School, and then when we became freshmen, we went to Mount Eden High School, and then our old teacher asked former students of the middle school if they wanted to join, and that's how we became on an after school league, and that was our relationship of being in a league, and it was a lot of fun. And in fact, I think we won that league as being alumni of older alumni from King. So we have really good memories at Holiday Bowl.
Nice.
And league play.
At that point, we were playing there, and then like it was the two of us, and then our other buddy who was probably like the star because he was the one who was like averaging like 200 or whatever. So he was like the one who was definitely carrying the team at that point. But yeah, I would say like, my memories of doing that were like same thing. It's just like, it was cool to do it because of just like the atmosphere itself of just like being there, just having a good time with like our friends and just like the community as well. That it definitely became like a really fun like after school like activity for us growing up. That those are probably like our fondest memory. But then we also have one where like his cousin, I don't know if you wanted to tell that story with the Sunday games.
Oh, just first of all, shout out to Eduardo for carrying the team. And our cousin Ryan, he would do, during the billboards, we would see the different events, but 6 a.m. on Sunday, $1 games, and he would wake us up, and he got really good at bowling from those $1 games. Had his shoes, has his ball, and that was his activity. And it was fun to, several other memories like that. And us watching the documentary, like reinvigorated those memories of good times with our friends and family.
Nice.
So,
well, that's the main reason I made it. So people that saw it could go, oh yeah, I love that. I'd love to see that again. And also for people who didn't get to see it, they go, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's why everybody liked it so much.
Right. Yeah.
Too bad I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that $1 a game, that always amazed me. It was from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Sundays.
Yeah.
And I thought, people will get here at 6 a.m. on a Sunday to bowl, really?
Yeah.
Wow, but they do.
Sometimes
you go there and there wouldn't be a lane because they were all full,
Yeah, I actually do remember that happening a couple of times where we would totally be mad at his cousin because he would wake us up at 6. We would get there like around 7 or 7:30. And by the time we get there, like it was already full. And then I think they told us like, oh, there might be a lane free in like a half hour or like an hour. And we waited at that point because we were already up that early in the morning that I think, either we went to go eat at the diner or just waited for like our time slot to open up. But it's just like, we definitely took advantage of like those Sundays. And it was fun as much as like it for us at that age to get up and like be annoyed by that. But by the time we were actually playing, it was
when
a
you're
great
all
time.
awake finally and out there and feeling the excitement, then it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were kind of saying like it was amazing that you had mentioned that there was like over 20 people that you got for the documentary to like interview and everything. How did that kind of come about? Like, did you keep relationships with these folks like that were either like former customers or employees? Like, how did you go about like?
Yeah, when we were trying to figure out, Sujoy said we should do some interviews, put interviews. So my wheels started turning. Who could we interview?
Mm-hmm.
Who would be like a proper person to interview?
Yeah.
And I thought of 3 groups of people that were neighbors, lived nearby, and like could look out your window and see the sign, and, and have always lived near Holiday Bowl. So probably, obviously, were going to be customers too. But that was my second group, is customers, people from leagues or anybody I knew who was a customer there, and then employees. And I still had in my records after 15 years, I still have in my records some of the old employees' phone numbers.
Oh, nice.
So I called, see if they still have the same number, and they did. And I said, "Hey, hi, it's Jim Sommer, and I'm I'm doing this. I'd like to interview you."
Yeah.
And they go, "Okay." So I just started hooking up with all those people that I could, and then customers. We were, I just like talked to somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, and they knew them. Put me in touch with them. I'd like to talk to them, and so I hooked up with some customers that way.
Yeah.
And maybe, and then other people that worked there, and a couple of them are still friends of mine. So I put them in there, but they were neighbors and worked there and were customers.
Oh,
so
nice.
they fall into all 3 groups.
Right.
They had a good amount to say. So I just gathered up 22 people that said, "Yeah, we'll do that," and I scheduled them for interviews at the station. We made a proper schedule.
Yeah.
And said, "Okay, you come in at this time." And we allotted an hour for everybody's interview.
Right.
And I do like 4 a day.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Couple days a week. And then the next week again. And that's when I had Doug Wilson. He came back up from Los Angeles. And he did the interviews for the first few, just so it could be like, somebody, not me.
Yeah.
Somebody they didn't know interviewing them. I thought it might flow a little better.
Right.
But then he couldn't come up for the last couple weeks of interviews, so I did those, and it worked out just the same.
Oh, that's
it was seamless.
Yeah,
it was seamless.
Right.
They were talking to the camera or the person behind the camera, but it felt the stories were so genuine and heartfelt that I really enjoyed those interviews because everyone had a connection to that place.
Right. Yeah, I would give them a list of questions. I'd say, "Here's what I will ask you," and so think about it, so you can have a little time to prepare an answer.
Right.
And if you think of something else that you'd like me to ask that would be good or fun or funny or anything, let me know and we'll throw it in there.
Yeah.
There's some funny stories. there's one in particular that stands out. My old friend John Haynes, who I'm still friends with, we were buddies, and then I got him a job there. I got some of my friends' jobs because my dad owned a place.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I got him a job, and he did a lot of jobs there. He was doing in the parking lot first, cleaning up the parking lot.
Right.
And then he became janitor and a dishwasher and then a bartender.
And
I don't know. I think he worked there for maybe a total of 15 years
or
so.
Yeah.
But he has a hilarious story. It makes me laugh every time I hear it, even though I've heard it 100 times now by my DVD. It's on there.
Yeah.
And it's when he was out on the sign, the big sign up, used to have a platform. You can't see it in the pictures I have now. I don't have a picture, but there was an actual platform that went all the way around the sign. So the janitors could get up there and walk around the sign and replace the letters while just standing in front of it. And they needed, of course, a big ladder to get up there.
Yeah.
And there's a thing to hook your ladder to so it didn't fall down. And the way John tells his story just makes me laugh even thinking about it here.
Yeah.
And he says, "I didn't need to secure that ladder." He goes, "It's not going to blow down." Well, it blew down.
Yeah.
And he was stuck up there for 2 hours.
Oh my God.
He goes, "I don't know how they didn't miss me in the bowl for 2 hours, but they didn't."
Yeah,
and he goes, "And there was pigeons up top, and they were dropping their doodles all over me for 2 hours."
Yeah.
And somebody finally realized he was out there, and they came out and rescued him.
Yeah.
And he said he's all covered with this stuff. The way he tells the story is just hilarious.
Yeah. No, I remember catching that part in the documentary. And yeah, it's like it's one of those things that you can kind of even make like a caricature out of like the whole situation just based on like how amazing the story is.
Right.
Yeah, now that you mention it, like I think obviously everyone kind of remembers like the sign, of course, like that's like what kind of made Holiday Bowl really stand out, other than it just being like an amazing place. Like, do you have any memories of that, of like how that kind of came into fruition, like to kind of create like that iconic sign, and then for also to be one of the largest signs in the city for a long time?
It was the largest.
Right.
There was no sign in Hayward at any time ever
Mhm.
that was larger. And I don't know. Well, I mean, my dad was kind of a visionary, and he was really thinking on the big scale.
Right.
And they put that sign in. I remember he told me that sign in 1958 cost $50,000
Oh, wow.
to build and put in.
Right.
And a house just up the street in Fairway Park in 1958, a 3-bedroom house, 2-bathroom, $7,000.
Oh, wow.
So that sign was worth like 7 houses.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Wow.
Yeah.
Whew.
And I don't know why. I don't know. I was just a little tiny kid when he did all that. So I think they just wanted it to be spectacular,
Mhm.
and it was 70-foot tall sign.
Yeah.
And there was a time in the 70s when the city of Hayward made a new ordinance. They said you can't have signs over 20 or 30 feet or whatever it was.
Oh,
And so they went around to all the businesses. Like there was not Kmart, it was called Big Top back then. It was Kmart, or maybe it was Kmart by then.
Right.
They had a tall sign, and there was a couple others, and they ordered them to take them down, and they all did. They
Oh, wow.
lowered them or took them down.
Yeah.
And my dad says, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
I can't just take this sign down. It was legal when I did it.
Yeah.
You can't just say." So they took him to court, and then it made its way all the way to the California Supreme Court,
Wow.
and they ruled that it was legal when you built it. You can't just say it's illegal. It's a thing in the Constitution called ex post facto.
Wow.
This is where I learned that.
Right.
And it just means it was legal then. You can't all of a sudden say it's not legal and
Yeah.
make somebody endure a big hassle and expense.
Right. Yeah.
So the city, my dad got to thumb his nose at the city about that, but he was friends with all of them, with the
Right.
city government. But he got to say, nope, I don't have to take my sign down. And other people folded, and he didn't,
Mm-hmm.
and got his way.
Yeah.
So it got to stay.
Yeah. And on top of that, now because of that, like he's like the only person who has a sign that big on top of it. So it's
Right.
like it's even more like exposure for everything.
Right.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing to kind of see that happen.
I like that inside story. That's something we didn't know. We know the sign's big, but we know why the sign's the biggest, and it stayed the biggest for so long because there was no competitors after that city passed.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody else just went, oh, we got to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
But my dad said, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. That's awesome. That like you got to stick to, especially when it's like something that was like such a financial thing to invest in the beginning. Yeah, like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We were kind of wondering the same thing too, because I think the way that you kind of structured the documentary was amazing too, based on like the different things that you could do at the Holiday Bowl. How would you say that was like in general, like to kind of manage things? Because when we were younger, we obviously went to like the bowling, the diner, but then I think we were still too young to go to the bar at the time and everything. But how was it to kind of like because it pretty much was like small businesses within like that whole area, like how you mentioned, like with the bar, the lounge and everything. Like how was that like trying to maintain? And I know you mentioned earlier like having up to 60 employees at one point. Like how was that like trying to like manage everything at that point?
My dad had it set up really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
They were like made to be in business. He was just a brilliant businessman,
Right.
and he had the foresight to hire a bunch of workaholics.
So that's the key.
That's the key.
I mean, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It was an excellent choice, and
Right.
I admire them all for it.
Right.
I'm not quite that way. I always do what I got to do.
Yeah.
But I enjoy my time off, and I don't know if they ever did.
I see. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But he hired a bunch of hardworking men and women to be his managers.
Mhm.
And so he had it set up So there's a manager for the bar. There's a manager for the desk.
Right.
There's a manager or a chef who's in charge in the restaurant.
Mhm.
And so they ran it, and they, kept an eye on their department. My dad would oversee all of that. But
Mhm.
my uncle was really the bowling, like there were two different entities, the bowling and everything else.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think the reason that was because there were two unions back in the day when we
Oh.
had to be union house.
Right.
There was the bartender waitresses union,
Yeah.
which ran the bar and the restaurant and the holiday house. I mean, it
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
run it. I mean, it was associated with that.
Uh-huh.
And then there was the service workers union or some other union had the bowling people covered. And so there was two unions present.
Mhm.
So my dad set up two different corporations to
Oh,
run
wow.
those entities. And he had managers in each department. So he just had everything covered pretty well.
Yeah. I think that was the part of it, is like the older we've gotten to appreciate like just business like mentality overall, and just to kind of see that within the documentary of like, yeah, there was a lot of things that like you kind of had to oversee, and now that we kind of see it like with our eyes now, it's just like one of those things like that. That's even, it gives us even more respect for like how the Holiday Bowl was run. Something that we just didn't know like as kids. Like we're just like, oh yeah, it's just a bowling alley. But
Right.
now it's like you got to see like how much work and like how much was just put into like each aspect of
Yeah, it's
Holiday Bowl.
pretty massive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a lot of different things to keep an eye on.
Hmm.
The bar, the restaurant, banquet room,
Yeah.
the grounds, everything else.
Yeah.
And so he was just like made to do that. He was just a great businessman and knew how to allot, the decision making with his managers, and he just kept a real good eye on it too. He was never an absent owner.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Absent owners lose their business.
Right. Right.
you know,
Right.
and they're not there very much.
Right.
They
Right.
let other people run it. Well, that wasn't the case there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was running it all the time. I
Okay.
remember when we'd go on vacation,
Yeah.
we'd go away. They'd go to Tahoe. My parents would take me and my brother and my sister like to Lake Tahoe or something like that. But he would get on the phone about 4 or 5 times a day and call the bowl
Right. Right.
and see how things are going, see if any decisions need to be made or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before cell phones, before
Yeah, there's no cell phone.
Yeah,
so you just had to
yeah.
always call a landline, and
it's landline or
wow.
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So he'd get on the phone call. Hi, how's it going? Anything going on? Okay.
Yeah.
And he'd check in with them even when he's on vacation.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah. That just shows like not only the
His
business,
work ethic,
his
and
work ethic,
everything.
yeah,
everything.
exactly how you said. You and I were talking about this before, like how we don't have anything like that anymore, right? Like you were mentioning that.
A place? What do you mean? As such as a local place?
Yeah,
Or it's
yeah.
a local business that people go to?
Like that just has such a variety. And
Yes, under the roof of Holiday Bowl, a bar, a restaurant, a banquet hall, and the bowling alley itself. It was just a one-stop shop for. Obviously, the bowling alley was the main attraction, but the amount of things underneath that roof was
When
massive in Hayward.
When he first opened, there was also up the stairs, there was a beauty salon.
Oh,
Wow.
right,
Over
right,
here,
yeah,
there was a barber shop.
Mhm.
yeah,
There was a pro shop. Of
yeah.
course, you have to have a pro shop and a bowling alley.
Of course, of course. See, there's so many things underneath that.
And we had a daycare center for kids.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We called it the nursery.
Yeah, yeah,
And there was a lot of different stuff happening there. And then we had different rooms for meetings or whatever people might need to rent a room for.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a smaller banquet room downstairs. It was called Ferdinand's Hideaway.
Mhm.
I don't know why.
Mm.
And it held about 250 people. And that was the banquet room that came with the original building.
Mhm.
And then when they decided to build the Holiday House in 1965,
Mhm.
which would hold 1,100 people,
Oh wow, yeah.
then we just used the Ferdinand's Hideaway for other stuff, little occasions or like
Mhm.
that. And then eventually
Oh.
it just became our storage room.
Mhm.
Right.
And the Holiday House was the banquet room then.
Yeah. Like I think that was the thing that's we were saying, like with the absence now of the Holiday Bowl, like you can only really kind of get that experience. Yeah. If you kind of just travel to different businesses, like, yeah, if I want to go bowl, then I have to go to strictly just like a bowling alley. There's not anything else connected to it that if I wanted to do the same thing, to go check out like a bar or like even like a place where they're playing like live music, then I have to go somewhere else. While everything there was literally just under the same roof. And I unless I'm wrong, I don't see anything like that since then. You know,
I haven't even seen anything like it
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
except for the bowl, except for Holiday Bowl.
yeah, it's
A lot bowling alleys have bars. Some of them are
yeah.
okay. Some of them are really tiny.
hmm
None of them have a restaurant like that. I've never seen a restaurant
Right.
like that except for ours in a
Mhm.
bowling alley.
Yeah,
I've seen little coffee shops and little snack bars and stuff, but this was a full blown restaurant.
Right,
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner 24 hours a day,
Mhm.
yeah.
and really good food
Yeah.
too. I really miss that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you too, like, what, from your memories, like, what were like your absolute like favorites from the menu
Well, the
itself?
breakfasts were delicious. We had really
Yeah.
good bacon.
Yeah.
We had bacon you couldn't see through,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
And the hash browns, and boy, that was all such good stuff. But I think my favorite, which I mentioned in the documentary, was Swiss steak.
Mhm.
It was a special.
Yeah,
It wasn't on the regular menu. We had a specials, a couple dozen different specials that we'd put on the menu on a daily basis. Not daily, I mean, but like it would appear a
Yeah.
couple times a month.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I just love the Swiss steak. Boy, that was so good.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't know how to make it.
Yeah, I think some of the other folks in the documentary were saying like, "Oh, I really wish I got the recipe for something on the menu," because yeah, it's like now we can never get it again, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just a memory at that point. Yeah, I remember like how we were saying earlier, like going to breakfast there, having a really good time, and then yeah, we would like bowl on Sundays, or even then like yeah, when we were doing our league
Mhm.
for high school, like we'd probably have dinner there as well, and just
Mhm.
like yeah, it was always a good time, and like
Oh, it was delicious.
Yeah.
Hot turkey dinner was delicious.
Yeah.
Hot roast beef. Hamburgers were excellent.
yeah.
I love bowling alley hamburgers. I think a lot of them are very good.
Yeah,
I remember on our way to Tahoe once, we used to go to a place, I think it was Auburn Bowl, maybe. And my dad would always stop there because he's a bowling guy.
Yeah,
And he'd stop at that bowl and we'd get their hamburgers. And I always loved those.
yeah,
They're so good. And ours were even better.
yeah. Yeah, our regular is like nations, like
Right.
and yeah, like I'm like totally like a burger person that no matter where I go, like if it's somewhere new and then like if they specialize in burgers, like I have to try it out. But same thing, like how you said, like if like places like the Holiday Bowl or anyone else had offered like burgers, then that would be like my first choice, just to like compare. And yeah, my memories of it were also like being amazing at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great food there.
Going back to kind of like the bowling links, I think that was kind of the aspect that I wasn't as familiar with since we had only been to ours. Knowing that you ran so many throughout the years, like do you have any like memories of like how those go? Like was it like difficult for like either your dad or the person like running it, like to kind of manage something of that scope of like managing so many large leagues, and then on top of it, like I believe in the documentary I remember hearing like there was like summer leagues and winter leagues. Like how was that really hard to like kind of maintain and organize?
Well, sure, it was a lot of work. Fortunately, I didn't really have to do that firsthand
Yeah,
because I don't know, it's just more than I think I could handle. You got to be a real salesperson,
yeah,
and I'm not a real salesperson. But you know who was? Our general manager, Bob Rebello.
hmm
He could have been any kind of sales. He was just the perfect personality for that, and hardworking. And he's the one that organized the leagues, him and my uncle.
Oh,
But I
okay.
think, the two of them together, they put that all together, kept things running, kept the leagues full. If there was gaps in the league, Bob would go out and try and fill
Oh,
them. He used to go around to businesses
uh-huh.
and sell leagues and say, "Hey, go to Mervin's." Let's remember Mervin's.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
I remember we had a Mervin's league.
Yeah,
He'd go into Mervin's and say, "Hey, you guys have a lot of employees. Would you like to have a league here? I can help you set it up." Da, da, da. And he'd bring in a Mervin's league
that's smart. Yeah,
of 30 people or something, 40 people.
yeah,
And so he did that a lot. He was
Yeah.
our like outside sales guy and real good at it,
yeah.
fortunately. And he was also then he became the general manager later. And he just kept a good eye on all the leagues, keeping them all full, which is a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
And yeah, he really managed it. He was the perfect person for that job.
Yeah. No, it's like we're trying to kind of like do our own like art expo, like, but because of everything with COVID as well, like we kind of had to postpone it. But even just like those initial like planning stages of just trying to like organize like head counts and making sure like everything has like the right person to kind of oversee things. I can only imagine something like that of just like trying to oversee like various groups of people and then just like making sure like they know exactly when they need to play and all, and scheduling in general. Like,
right. Yeah. It took a lot of organizing and scheduling. I remember the schedule up at the desk would show all the leagues at the time that they bowl in their slots on the different days.
Yeah.
And it was just a ton of organizing.
Yeah.
But they had it down.
Yeah. No, and I would imagine, like after running a few, then like you just get to know it and just improve on it like over and over again at that point. Yeah. Kind of going towards like near the end of the documentary, like that's where we noticed that you started introducing more like live music and everything there. What kind of inspired that to like kind of do that later in like Holiday Bowl's run versus kind of introduce, or unless I'm wrong, like unless they were doing it like early on as well?
Well, I've always been kind of a rock and roller myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I like music, and I played the guitar and I play the drums.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a bit of a musician, and I have friends that are in bands and things. And my wife and Terry would go to shows every now and then, go to a bar or a place where there's a band and see the good music.
Yeah.
And we ran into a group. We went and saw a group in a bar in San Leandro that doesn't exist anymore called Kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw a band called the Stone Messiahs.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just awesome. They were so good.
Right.
I thought, wow, man, this is just a little local band, and they write their own songs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing covers.
Yeah.
But they were great. They were so catchy. And I said, wow, I think this is an excellent band.
Yeah.
Better than most.
Yeah.
And I met them and got to be friends with them. And I said, I think I talked about it with my wife, Terry. I said, I'd like to have bands at the bowl. We have a room where we have banquets, little banquets, meetings, hold about a couple hundred people at the most.
Right.
In the back of the bar, we called it the aquarium room because there used to be a big aquarium at the front of it.
Oh.
We ended up taking that out. But it still got called the aquarium room.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'd like to have bands here. Could we do that? It's a bar,
Yeah.
And Terry kind of said, yeah, you could do it. She really motivated me. I was kind of going, I don't know. And she goes, you can do that.
Right.
And she like got my confidence up.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's do it. And I had a carpenter that was working for us at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him I want to build a stage that we can take apart and put together.
Mm-hmm.
So like if we want the room for a meeting, we can move the stage to the corner.
Nice.
And on Friday nights when we have bands, we'll set up the stage. So it was 4 big sections of 4x8 plywood with a heavy duty frame, and we'd bolt them together. And that was the stage, and it was just like a foot high.
Right.
It's just something,
Yeah.
And then the whole rest of the floor was wood, dance floor.
Right.
So perfect. And then the walls were brick, and my wife designed how to paint that.
Oh, nice.
And we went in and painted it and made it look like fresh bricks. She just did an awesome job decorating that.
Yeah.
And so we made a real nice atmosphere there and started having bands. Well, when I saw the Stone Messiahs, I said, yeah, I kind of want to do that. And he goes, well, let me know. And so after Terry got me motivated to do it, I went and did that. And I started contacting some cover bands. I didn't know any bands then. So I had some cover bands play there on Friday nights.
Yeah.
And they were good, but I really like the original bands the best.
Right. Yeah.
And then when the word started getting out that I was having live music there, then the original bands started sending me their CDs.
Wow.
And I go, oh, you guys are good. Yeah, let's sign you up here.
Yeah.
And I, of course, got the Stone Messiahs to play. They were my first band, actually.
Right.
Stone Messiahs played with another band called the Parking Lot Prophets,
Nice.
who I learned from them. Like they were their friends, so they turned me onto them.
Yeah.
And those were the first 2 that ever played there in 2001, I think. And then I had 3 or 4 bands play there every Friday night.
Yeah.
for the next 5 years until 2005.
Yeah.
And they were just flying at me then when the word got out that there's a new place to play. And
Especially in Hayward.
Yeah.
I was getting CDs sent to me and bands calling me and that. So, and I wanted to hear them first.
Of
Right.
course.
I needed to hear, because I had to say no to some bands, unfortunately, because they were just not the right kind of music for me.
Yeah.
I was looking for some rock and roll,
Right.
hard rock, even heavy metal. And God, my mom came in to see it one night. And I had a heavy metal band playing. Not good. But those were actually the best crowds, the heavy metal crowds.
Mhm.
They could drink and they could hold it and they could be cool.
Yeah.
And they brought a lot of people.
Wow.
So that was actually like my favorite kind of bands to have there is heavy metal, because they just brought great crowds.
Yeah. Because I think even during our time, like, because we were around high school around then, that I do remember a lot of our friends or just, other kids around, that they were either like into the punk scene or like the heavy metal scene. And I do remember them saying like, oh yeah, we're going to like go check out our friend, or like they knew someone who played in a band and they would just go check out those shows, just because like, like the community there was just kind of pretty close as far as like with rock music that they would go support. And I think the thing that we were kind of just saying about that, of like there not being that many venues that kind of do that, especially in our area, that I would have loved to have been able to like check those out, like if we were like old enough at that time to check things out, just because like I really love live music as well, and to also support like local bands and just independent artists in general, that it would have been like an amazing thing to go to, and really wish we had something like that growing up.
Yeah, I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
Also, there's not even any places around like that now.
No,
It's very hard.
Yeah, you pretty much have to go to Oakland or to the city to get something like that.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes you do just want to like stay in the area and then also support folks who are like trying to get their music out there.
So I wanted to kind of build up other aspects of the business. Bowling, of course, but we had other stuff too.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't so into that. He used to tell me that the bar is there just as a service to the bowlers,
right.
So they can get a drink, they can come in and have a drink when they're done,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not there to have any other kind of entertainment or whatever. And I thought, why?
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, maybe you could get other people in there that aren't even bowlers. You can get the bowlers in there. You can get non-bowlers in there. Everybody not everybody, but a lot of people like live music.
Yeah.
Pool tables, which he would not have when I was there, when he was there.
Yeah.
But I got some pool tables, and that worked out real nice. And,
Yeah.
And we had the bands play, and it worked out great. So he was afraid for no reason. But I kept a real good eye on it. I kept an eye like he did.
Yeah.
I was there every Friday. I think I missed, in 5 years, I missed 2 shows because I was on vacation. But I had somebody filling in for me to oversee everything.
Right. Yeah.
You put that touch on it, your own touch of I mean, it almost brought another life back to it, because like Fernando was saying, like we had friends that played in bands that went to that venue on Friday night because we needed a place to go to for locals, for local high school kids, local, people out of high school. But it was great to have that venue. And the way you talk about it is that you were the gatekeeper, or the people went to you almost like a venue promoter, that you had to listen to everybody, even schedule your own. You probably had your own system of how to.
Yeah, it kind of was my own promoter.
Yeah.
Impressive.
It's interesting now because we know friends who are trying to get into like more of the stand up or open mic kind of circuit, and for them it's kind of the same thing, that they're also struggling to find anything local where they have to go either to
San Francisco or Berkeley or who knows.
San Jose and just the Santa Clara area and all those things, just to kind of like just find areas that accept stuff like that. So it's kind of like the same thing. Like I would imagine for the musicians in that boat, like it helped them so much to kind of gain an exposure in it. And how you just said, like maybe someone who's just like playing a game or they're at the bar, then they just kind of hear something and they're like, oh, I kind of like that. I'm going to go check it out and support them.
Just another thing to do.
Yeah.
Another activity for everybody.
Yeah.
I had a band call me once. I was in my office and band calls. Okay, here's a band.
Yeah.
and they said, "Hi, our name is Straight Out of Junior High," which they weren't. They were all over 21.
Yeah.
They said, "We're from Lincoln, Nebraska,
Wow.
and we're touring, and we're going to be in your area on these dates. Could we play at your place?"
hmm
I went, "Wow, no kidding."
Yeah.
A band from Lincoln, Nebraska has heard of Holiday Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Wow. I said, "Well, send me your CD and I'll see if I can squeeze you in." I looked at the date they were talking about,
Yeah.
and I already had 3 bands on there.
Oh, yeah.
But I said, "Well, send me your CD." And they did.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
a
yeah.
punk band.
Mhm.
Oh,
And they
nice.
just kicked ass. Oh my God. They were so good. Still one of my favorite original small time bands.
Right.
Yeah.
And I called them back up after I heard this. And I go, "Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on here. We'll have 4 bands that night."
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
And-
awesome.
And they did, and they came out, and they oh my God, the show they put on was just awesome.
Yeah.
Such a good band. And it always amazed me that they heard about me and they're so far away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think that was even touched on in the documentary. It's like even if people weren't familiar with like that area, like as soon as you said the Holiday Bowl, they're like, "Oh yeah, actually now I know what you're talking about," kind of thing. So definitely the word has spread around to like not only the locals, but just like in this scenario too, like in different cities and different states and that type of-
Right.
Yeah.
Some people, I remember this bands that I'd book them to play there, and they go, "We don't really know. We've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? We're playing at a bowling alley.
Yeah.
Are we going to be playing out on the lanes or
Oh,
something?"
yeah,
Yeah,
They didn't know what it was, really.
Right.
I said, "Oh, no. This is in the bar. We got a nice room off to the side
Mhm.
of the bar and a stage and everything." And it's kind of funny having band like at a skating rink or something.
Yeah.
No, it's not like that, boys.
That's awesome. So no, this has been been a blast, and of course we want to be respectful of your time as well. I know that I know you have a couple of newer projects in the works as well, so I definitely wanted to make sure that I gave you the time to promote that with the Dark Horse Lounge as well.
Oh yes, this is a fine bar that my daughter owns here in Hayward. We've had it I work there with her. I help her run it, but she's the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right here in Hayward. Been there for 10 years now.
Oh, nice.
And it's a wonderful little place. Really well run. She's got the business gene.
Oh, nice.
She does it right.
Yeah.
You know, when we went into business 10 years ago together, she said, I'd been out of the business for several years.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't bartended for many years, and the bowl had closed like 5 years before. And she says,
Right.
"Hey, this place, I worked there, and they went out of business and they're selling the business."
Mm-hmm.
And so she wanted to know if I wanted to do that with her.
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, but it's got to be your nickel."
Yeah.
And she was able to do that and bought the business and opened it up. And I'm her general manager.
Mhm.
Oh,
I do
nice.
like all the behind the scenes stuffs, payroll and paying bills and dealing with entities.
Right.
And she runs everything else and does it really well. It's a very well run place, and people know it.
Yeah.
You could tell
Yeah.
if the bosses, got their stuff together or not.
Right.
She definitely does. And so we're there. It's on the corner of Winton and Hesperian.
Mhm.
And I had like I said, I had the showing for my DVD there.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely check it out for sure. I just want to make sure I get this correct with everyone. If you want to check out the documentary, it is available on holidaybowlhayward.com. You can either stream it or you can get DVD. Thank you so much, Jim, for making the time to talk to us. And this has been amazing because for us watching the documentary, we can of course highly recommend it just based on all the history there, and just also with the stories that you had mentioned, that it really brought us back on everything. And we figured might as well reach out to you to see if you're willing to talk about
I'm sure glad you did.
Yeah,
It's fun.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Well, thank you for having me.
No worries. Thank you again. We'll clearly keep in touch, and then thank you so much for everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Take care.
If you enjoyed the conversation, check out our other interviews. Thanks again for watching.